Everyone. My name is Jacob. Welcome to the Doors Within Emerging Markets, time for emerging markets. And I'm so honored and it's such a great delight to have with me today, Kara Diallo. And he's going to introduce himself, but I think we're going to learn so much from him today on the work he does and how impactful in his position we can learn a lot about exports to the United States, but more so about, this trade in West Africa. So I don't want to discredit how great he is. So I'll let him do some introduction about himself, and we're gonna get into this episode. By the way, thank you for being here. Thanks for listening to the podcast, to all the amazing guests we've had, and let's get right into it. So, Kara, welcome to the podcast. And if you don't mind, can you just please introduce yourself to the audience and let's learn more about the work you do. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Jacob. My name is Kara Diallo, and I work for the USAID-funded West Africa Trade and Investment Hub as AGOA specialist. And it is a great pleasure to be your invitee today.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And just for us to get into more details into and the African Growth and Opportunity Act, and also the West Africa Trade and Investment Hub, can you just tell us a little bit about what AGOA is, and just a little bit about the investment hub as well?
Okay, thank you very much for this question. Please allow me to start first with the West Africa Trade Hub, and then I will talk about AGOA.
Yep.
So the West Africa Trade and Investment Hub project, also call it the Trade Hub, is a 5-year program with 140 million trade and investment facilitation activity that was awarded in September 2019, with the aim to improve private sector competitiveness in West Africa through market-based approaches. So this trade hub is an integral part of the Prosper Africa initiative, and also partners with the US and West African private sector firms to generate new private investment in key sectors to create jobs and increase trade between the US and West Africa, including through the utilization of the African Growth and Opportunity Act. That said, the Trade Hub today comprises of two main components. The first one is a grant-making facility for the private sector partnership. And we have a second component, which is technical assistance that directly support and engage with qualified partners and also grantees to achieve mainly USAID's trade and food security objectives. Finally, the Trade Hub project aims to achieve a minimum of $400 million in new private sector investment, 60,000 new jobs generated, and 300 million in export by 2024. On the other end, the African Growth and Opportunity Act, AGOA, is a US trade preference program originally signed into law in May 2000. This AGOA program have been extended to 2025 to enhance eligible sub-Saharan African countries access to the US market in order to stimulate, of course, economic growth and also development. So AGOA builds on the GSP, which is another trade preference program, to allow more than 6,500 products to enter in the US market duty free. So this is what we can say as introduction on the Trade Hub and also on AGOA.
That is incredible, and it sounds like you guys, you guys have very audacious goals, as you mentioned, some metrics by 2024, and that sounds really exciting. I mean, just to go deeply into AGOA, who can really benefit from this? You know, and I think now our audience will be curious, right? What are some of the products that? What are some of the AGOA's products that people should be, people should know, right? And for which people do we who really benefit from this?
Very good. That's a great question. Let me put it like this: goods from 39 sub-Saharan African countries who are currently benefiting from AGOA can enjoy the duty-free treatment. So, which means actually businesses that are based in those 39 countries and their US clients can all benefit from AGOA today. As I mentioned earlier, there are today more than 6,500 products that are eligible for AGOA benefits, among which we have crude oil that has been a big component of AGOA products in the previous year, in the past years. That narrative is changing today with apparel and the textiles becoming the first category or grouping of goods exported under AGOA. We also have, of course, the agric type of products, such as prepared vegetables, fruits, nuts, and even cut flowers are being exported today under AGOA, in addition to footwear, automobiles, prepared fish from Senegal, Cote d'Ivoire, and Cabo Verde, for example. So all these type of goods and the type of companies from the 39 sub-Saharan African countries can benefit from AGOA today.
That's incredible. Just a follow-up question. When you how do, so for example, do these companies have to be, can they be foreign companies based in these 39 countries that actually are eligible for part of the AGOA, can benefit from AGOA, or do they have to have the local, maybe homegrown companies? Can you please just elaborate on that?
This is a very interesting question, Jacob, and I really appreciate this follow-up question. All the companies that are based in sub-Saharan Africa and producing or processing in sub-Saharan Africa, by saying sub-Saharan Africa, I want to mention the 39 sub-Saharan African countries that are eligible for AGOA today. If a company is based in those countries, a company is producing there, is processing in those countries, that company, whether it have a foreign capital or not, will be able to export to the US under AGOA. Okay. So your question recalled me about two things. First, one of the main objectives behind AGOA is how to increase investment in sub-Saharan Africa. So, for example, a US company or a company based in the US can decide to invest in one or more AGOA-eligible country in sub-Saharan Africa to process, for example, agricultural goods, or to process, to manufacture garment, for example. And those goods produced in Africa or processed in Africa will be exported to the US and take advantage of the AGOA duty-free. We are seeing today more and more investment like this. The second thing your question remind me also is the rules of origin of AGOA, which the objective behind these rules of origin is actually to make sure that the goods that are requesting a duty-free treatment in the US coming from Africa have a content, a local content of Africa. That's the reason why the rules of origin will say that the product must be shipped directly from one of the AGOA-eligible countries. The product must be a growth or product or manufacturer from one or more AGOA-eligible country. And in case a company sources raw material from a third country which is not AGOA-eligible, that company must justify a substantial processing of that raw material in AGOA-eligible country, and also be able to justify a 35% value addition in order to receive this duty-free treatment in the US. So I hope this responds to your question regarding.
Certainly. That's very, very helpful, and I think that provides much more, kind of concrete evidence of how the people that will really benefit more from this. So thank you so much for elaborating on that. Now going into what are some of as you mentioned, AGOA, the duty free in the US, which is really, really significant. Can you just list some of the biggest achievements of AGOA so far?
Yeah, interesting question. There are certainly achievements. Other people may have other view, which is also normal, because these achievements have not been, let's say, across all the eligible countries. So it can be interpreted differently. But what I can tell you is that AGOA has successfully allowed many eligible countries to establish and expand today market linkages in the US. For example, non-oil export from sub-Saharan Africa to the US under AGOA rose from 1.4 billion in 2001, so at the beginning of AGOA, to 4.1 billion in 2017, for example. And this is due to the growth in shipment of products that I just mentioned, and a range of other products that had not been previously exported to the US from Africa in large volumes. In addition, on the US government side, in terms of technical assistance, from 2010 to 2018, USAID's regional trade hubs, there are generally 3 in Africa, have facilitated more than 300 millions in new finance and investment, almost $1 billion US in AGOA export, and created more than 60,000 new jobs on the continent, just to give you some figures. Finally, has one example of what an individual country can do to leverage its AGOA benefits for over, let's say, 5-year time zone. Ethiopia's annual apparel export under AGOA increased from 20 million US dollar in 2015 to 209 million US dollar in 2019. So you can see that there has been biggest achievement since this program started, actually.
That is incredible. I'm not a fan of AGOA right now. You guys are doing some incredible work. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think you help the audience really understand, the impact of stuff like this and how invaluable the implementation of acts like this can really transform the way we do business in Africa and our international relationship with the United States. So thank you so much. I think this is a very interesting and exciting thing for me. The next question, and I think there's a lot of I think this question is also so many questions that people have. And I think just going to it, can you just tell us a little bit about the import and export between Africa and Africa and the United States? I personally, really would love to hear your thoughts on this, and what our audience will really something that can be helpful to our audience. Some of them are entrepreneurs, some of them are business executives. How can they really be thinking about import and export? And if you can share a little bit about that, that would be incredibly helpful.
Thank you very much, Jacob, for this question. Yes, I totally agree, especially for companies that want to start a business with Africa because they are based in the US, or others who are based in Africa and want to export to the US. It will be interesting to know what are the general category of goods that are traded between these two continents. So I would say that the total two-way goods trade between the US and sub-Saharan Africa totaled 36.7 billion US dollar in 2019. In the same year, US goods export were 15.7 billion US dollar, and the US good import, so which represent Africa's export to the US, were about 21 billion US dollar. So which means actually sub-Saharan Africa taken as one country is exporting more to the US than importing from the US. Top US goods export in 2019 by product category were machinery, for example, for 2.6 billion US dollar, vehicles for 2.4 billion US dollar, aircraft 1.5 billion, mineral fuel 1.3 billion, and cereals about 884 million US dollar. Talking about the top American export market in 2019 were South Africa, Nigeria, Ethiopia, Ghana, and Angola. So these are countries that have imported top importers of US goods in 2019. Talking about sub-Saharan export to the US in 2019, the primary goods were mineral fuels. We all know it's crude oil for about 7.4 billion. We also have precious metal and stone like platinum and diamonds for 4.3 billion. Very interesting to know is that we also have apparel for 1.4 billion, cocoa also for 930 million US dollar, etc. So in 2019, the top sub-Saharan African countries that we can say exporters to the US were first South Africa, and then followed by Nigeria, Angola, Ghana, and Cote d'Ivoire. So I think this will give you an idea about the trade relationship today between the US and the sub-Saharan African countries.
That's the data are really helpful, and I do think, you know, just having this type of information really helps. I think our audience to really get the context of how this trade goes, and I really appreciate that. I'm sure our audience does as well. I think a quick question do you see, you know, you mentioned at the end, you know, Angola, Ivory Coast, Ghana, and maybe we'll just highlight this at the end of this episode, like what can other African countries do, who are part of the 39 countries, do to actually improve the exports into the US? Or, you know, do you have any, you know, 1 pointer or 2 pointer for them to be part of that majority, right? We know Ghana is good in coffee, Angola has oil, and by natural resource, you know, they are there. But, you know, do you have any advice for other companies in other countries to really help improve or kind of create an environment where they can improve the exports to the United States? If you want to
yes,
share.
that's a great question. Yes, these 5 countries are, let's say, the top exporters to the US, but there are certainly others that are also exporting a lot. And I would like to mention a country like Kenya, who is now doing, let's say, every year, not anything less than 500 million US dollar with products like apparel mainly, and also some agricultural goods such as macadamia nuts. We also have Ethiopia. I just mentioned the case of Ethiopia, who is now exporting a lot of apparel to the US. In our own region, in West Africa, apart from Nigeria, Ghana, and Cote d'Ivoire that I just mentioned, we also have Senegal doing some great export in the prepared fish, especially tuna, canned tuna, exported to the US. It's the same case also for a little country, a small country, Cabo Verde, who is also exporting every year canned tuna to the US. Let's say that the countries are not at the same level in terms of quantity of product exported or the value of product exported, but at least I think they are all exported at some point. Maybe later in this debate, I will touch on some key points that need to be improved on both sides on private side and also on the public sector side.
Definitely, thank you. That's incredible. I was kind of worried, like, man, just 5 countries that are doing well. But thanks for elaborating on that. I really appreciate it. So let's just take a little bit, kind of a detour, not necessarily a detour, but just talk a little bit about the West Africa Trade and Investment Hub. What has been the uptake, or what has it been like at the West Africa Trade and Investment Hub? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
That's a good question, actually. Let me put it like this. As I mentioned, the project started on September 2019. So today we have, let's say, after 2 years of implementation, the Trade Hub actually awarded 44 grants for a total of $43.9 million US. So $43.9 million to 44 businesses, actually.
Wow.
And against this grant from the Trade Hub, it is expected that the grantees, so businesses, will generate 396 million in new investment, create 90,000 new jobs, and generate export revenue up to 200 million US dollar.
Wow.
So I think that the numbers are very evocative regarding the very promising uptake of the USAID West Africa Trade and Investment Hub. And this is a 5-year program.
That is incredible. I wish you have you back again. Just there's so much I can learn from your work and what you guys have planned out. That is incredible. That's so incredible. And thanks for sharing that. I mean, so so in relation to that, what has been some of the biggest lessons you've learned from the West Africa Trade and Investment Hub? If you want to just share a little bit about that.
Thank you very much, Jacob. As I mentioned, the Trade Hub comprises of 2 main components, the grant facility and also the technical assistance under AGOA. So in terms of lessons learned, I would like to focus mainly on the AGOA side. As noted, there has been substantial growth in the US-Africa trade under AGOA. However, duty-free access alone does not mean that companies will be price or quality competitive in the US. Mm-hmm. So one of the lessons learned is that there is a lot of work required by both government and the private sector to position companies to seize on the market access and to succeed. Yep. Historically, the countries best positioned to take advantage of AGOA have been those with a strategic and resourced export development strategies, along with those that have invested in improving the business environment and also the logistics infrastructure. Mm-hmm. So the promotion and the efficient use of AGOA cannot be the responsibility of a single organization or a single corporation. Indeed, all must work together to achieve the objective that have led to the establishment of AGOA. What I want to say here, for example, is that governments of African countries must adopt and implement AGOA utilization strategies, including promoting and improving an export enabling environment. On the other hand, private sector organizations and also exporters must have comprehensive strategic plans for export and marketing in order to better target their client in the US and make sure they can provide quality products that meet regulations and also the quality standards. I'm talking here about the quality certifications requirements. So you can see that we have over the period learned a lot that can be used to advise government on the continent, but also our private sector, our businesses, in order for them to take advantage, the maximum advantage of AGOA.
Definitely. Those are really insightful lessons, and I do think, based on how you talk about them, is something that will be ingrained in how you guys are thinking about the next 5 years, the next 4 years, on this hub and this value to the countries in US as well. And just to kind of cap up and give us an idea of what you're thinking about the future, how will you describe each of US-Africa trade relations?
Yeah, thank you, Jacob. It's always difficult to predict what the future will be, but let me talk based on what we know today.
Yes.
That sub-Saharan Africa has tremendous opportunities to expand and diversify its export to the US by mainly focusing on developing the most competitive and productive sector of the economy. So based on that, there is a lot of positive momentum we can build on to achieve even more over the next years. Finally, I think that the future looks brighter, both in deepening the trade relationship with the US and in supplying the growing market in sub-Saharan Africa. So I see a win-win relations between both continents.
Awesome. I learned so much from this session. I feel like I will speak for myself. I think our audience will do the rating, but I feel like this had to be a paid session for me to really get the true the research and just the amount of work that you guys are doing, and how much you guys invested in just making West Africa a very good place for business. It's just incredible, and I really would love to have you back and for us to keep on this conversation, because I think beyond just being a singular entrepreneur, which we invite on the podcast, this has an ecosystem value add, and someone like you offers that perspective and the lens for us to look at. So I really appreciate so much the information you've shared with us, and what you think the future is going to be like. So thank you so much for being here. Any last words for businesses that with COVID that just happened last year? Things seem to be opening up. It seems like some countries are still closed up, some are open. Any advice will you give out there for businesses who are trying to get on this map to export into US, or governments who want to be part of AGOA? Do you have any last any advice and how people can reach out to you if you think, that'll add value to the work you're doing. Please feel free to share that.
Thank you very much, Akam, for that. That gives me the opportunity to actually say that at the USAID West Africa Trade and Investment Hub, we do provide support regarding AGOA. Our support is at 3 levels. The first level is the assistance we do provide to governments, so to countries in West Africa. Here we can assist West African countries with the implementation of the AGOA textile visa. That is a major component of AGOA because it's not all 39 countries that are eligible for AGOA who can export garment and textiles under the AGOA duty-free treatment. There are another set of regulations and requirements these countries need to meet. So we can assist West African countries in meeting those conditions and also provide trainings to the customs officers who are key players in this apparel and the textiles visa system. The second level of our assistance is regarding to create awareness regarding AGOA and also regarding the other US import requirements. So we do that usually via webinars, via training workshops in various countries in West Africa. Finally, the third level of our assistance is to support the export-ready companies. So here it's assistance to businesses on one-on-one basis based on their needs. We start with AGOA basic services, which mean advise the company about the eligibility of its good under AGOA, about the export documentation and the process, and also in case there are registration needed, for example, FDA registration, we can assist the company to do all these things. Once the company is at a certain level where we are comfortable with them, we can now introduce them to US buyers in the US. We have a staff in the US mainly for the market linkages, someone who identifies US importers and buyers by sector, and then based on the needs of our companies in West Africa, we can do a matching between companies of both sides. So these are some of the activities and the support that the Trade Hub provides in relation with AGOA. Companies who are interested can first visit our website, westafrica.com, where they can find many information, not only on our AGOA activities, but also on our co-investment program and the eligibility and so on. And via the website, they will be able to reach out to us in case they have any question regarding AGOA. They can send us their inquiries, and we will be more than happy to provide them feedbacks on what we can do.
Incredible, incredible. Just if you don't mind, can you repeat the website again? It's this MCC.
West Africa Trade Hub.com.
Awesome. And I'm gonna include that in the in the link below in the section, writing section, so everyone can just click on that. And thank you so much for the work you're doing. Thank you very much for your time. I know you're a very busy man. And to our audience, we're just very delighted to listen, to learn from you. Grateful you're here, and we're looking forward to having you again to see the updates of the work you're doing. And for especially businesses who want to join the webinars and all that, you can come and share just a little bit about how that can be invaluable to businesses in the US, which might be interested to know that, as well as businesses in West Africa. So thank you. And
you're welcome. It's been a pleasure talking to you and discussing about all these topics. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much. Likewise. And to all our audiences, this is Kara again. Talks about AGOA, talks about the West Africa Investment Hub, and we're so excited to have him here. I will thank him again, and I'll keep you guys posted on our next guest for time for emerging markets towards emerging markets. I hope everyone's having a great day, and see you guys in the next episode. Take care, everyone.